Welcome to today's video. We are doing a 30-day challenge where I am working with ChatGPT each day to create a 10-minute video. My name is Cameron Edward Benton, and welcome to this episode. So today's episode is focusing on ADHD and perfectionism. This was a request that came through. I put in 3 comments, and this was the one that was chosen for today. So to start off, I'm going to give you like a personal story for me. So perfectionism is something that's definitely really crippled me in various pieces of my life throughout it. And even just talking a little bit with ChatGPT about it, like perfectionism is fundamentally shame-based, and something that I always was challenged with was wanting everything to be perfect, because if it wasn't, I was a failure. And so what would happen is I had an idea of how I wanted something to go, and because I couldn't get it there, I would spiral, I would get really angry and self-defeating, I would rage and stomp on the ground or want things to go my way, but I would try to control it in some fashion. I think specifically in an area more recently where I would experience a lot of perfectionism was with my podcast, with particularly the intro. This is like a quick 60-second piece, a 90-second piece at best, and I could find myself going over that thing countless amounts of times trying to get it right. And it's this weird dance where, like, you know, I'm getting more frustrated because I'm not getting it, and then but like I don't want to be frustrated on camera because that's going to come through on the camera. And so it just kept feeding into itself over and over and over again, and became this like really hard thing. And I would end up spending 2 to 3 hours on it and still not even really be that happy with it. And so it wasn't accomplishing anything, it wasn't doing anything right, and it was just really sucking at my soul. The other area where perfectionism really has crippled me a lot, as I was thinking about it for this episode, was really relationships, both romantically with friends and family even, where there has been this desire for me to be perceived as perfect in whatever way that is, that I don't make mistakes. I would say it's less about like ever making like silly mistakes and stuff, but like there's a sense of being like this good brother or this good friend, or that the person, like if I'm the person throwing up because I drank too much, I would be tossed out of the tribe, right? So this is again a very shame-based thing, where I always need to be the responsible one, the one that pick people up, the one who can hold people up, and especially I would say in romantic relationships, it's like, okay, where's the perfect time to ask somebody out? Am I good enough? Am I doing enough on the date? Am I doing enough here? It was always about like trying to, earn love in some way, shape, or form, that I really couldn't just be me. And there's this weird dynamic, right, where to find love, we have to risk being ourselves, like actual true love, and be rejected or loved for those things. And at the same time, like, it's terrifying too. And so it's easier to put up this, projection and then be rejected for that, because then at least they're not actually rejecting my preciousness, my inner softness, my inner pieces, this parts of me that are squishy and whatever, that I'm afraid of somebody stepping on and hurting, that they might actually really reject these like inner parts of me on a deep way. So those are some of the things. ADHD, I guess, to connect that dot real quick, is like, I'm not exactly sure how this really relates to ADHD and perfectionism, to be quite frank, because ADHD for me is something that I was diagnosed with later as an adult. As a kid, I can look back on it and say, oh yeah, these were things that definitely felt like ADHD to me, like missing small details constantly on math problems. Even though I could understand the process really quickly, I would make small detail mistakes, like a math error on line 3, and then get the problem wrong. That was always really frustrating to me, and I had a lot of that same emotional baggage around it, because I would make those mistakes even though I knew the concept and could do the formula fine. Because I would miss those small errors, I'd get it wrong and then beat myself up about it. And I had dealt with a lot of self-beat up throughout my life. So now we're going to go to ChatGPT. It had a couple specific questions that I already preloaded into the piece, but it's going to be fresh for both of us because I haven't hit enter yet. So we're going to do that right now. All right, so here we go. What do you think the connection is between ADHD and perfectionism? Do you think perfectionism is ever healthy? ADHD and perfectionism, an unexpected pairing. While ADHD is associated with impulsivity and disorganization, and perfectionism is surprisingly common, here's why. Chronic underperformance versus internal standards. People with ADHD often know they're capable of much more, but struggle to execute. 100% true. This gap between potential and results creates shame and a desperate urge to prove themselves through perfection. Fear of judgment. Years of being told they're lazy, messy, or inconsistent people with ADHD overcorrect by trying to be flawless to avoid criticism. 100% true. Hyperfocus. Sometimes ADHDers can get stuck in the weeds of trying to make something just right, even if it delays the task overall, ironically sabotaging their intention. Also true. Rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria. Common in ADHD, RSD can make small critiques feel crushing. Perfectionism becomes a defense mechanism to avoid emotional pain. That's one that I've heard from and can resonate with. I kind of identify as a hypersensitive person sometimes too, but definitely I've heard it said that people with ADHD can experience rejection and criticism much more painfully. And we experience emotions as painful on the same level neurologically as we do physical pain. So when you go through a psychologically painful experience, please know that you are actually going through a very, very physical experience as well. Is perfectionism ever healthy? I reframe it like this. Perfectionism is a strategy, not a trait, and its usefulness depends on the intention and impact behind it. Perfectionism becomes healthy-ish when it's about excellence, not worthiness. It's driven by curiosity or craftsmanship, not fear. It's flexible and allows for iteration, not paralysis. It pushes for quality without punishing imperfection. It becomes toxic when you equate mistakes with being unlovable or broken. You procrastinate or avoid because it won't be perfect, and you criticize yourself harshly or never feel satisfied. So yes, perfectionism can be a useful edge, but only when it serves joy, growth, or meaning rather than fear or shame. Would you say your own perfectionism tends to show up more as a motivator or a barrier? Those are great questions. So the simple answer is I think perfectionism, as I was talking with ChatGPT a little bit earlier, is more about what it's rooted in than the outcome. So it talks about when it's rooted in shame, that is something that is perfectionist based, right? That is something that what's the energy underneath that's driving it? Or is it curiosity, creativity, excellence, a drive to make something that you deeply desire to exist in the world? Can you have fun with it? Because I think part of the thing with perfectionism also is that we are looking at it from a standpoint of what is good, what is right, what is correct, what is perfect, right? Versus, is this what I want? Do I like it? Do I enjoy this? And this is something that I got from my friend Mia Schachner, who is Consent Wizardry online on Instagram. I definitely recommend watching our podcast episode together and just checking out their content. And I took their consent for artist course, and one of the biggest shifts that they gave us through that course was this idea of, do I like it? Do I like it versus, is this good? Because good is totally subjective. So the question is, do I like this? I love all this art on my wall. And there's some people who probably say this is stupid or ugly or bad. And I'm sure that, my friend Niall made this piece with the eye. And I'm sure at some point during that process, he was like, is this good? Is it bad? Whatever. But he loved it, right? He was able to tune into this deep feeling of creation within himself and find the joy. And a great practice from this, and again, I got this from Mia's course, is doing show and tell. Remember when you were a kid and you loved to just go, or at least I did, I loved show and tell, to bring something and share it with so many people. In a lot of ways, I think about my podcast and my channel and Instagram and all these other things as a form of show and tell. I'm showing other people and telling other people about them, what I see, what I experience, how this all formulates into a new modality. And it's lovely. There's so many different pieces of what we love, and I think when we tune in more to that energy, we can generate excellent quality things without leaning into the painful spiral of perfectionism. If you have ever struggled with ADHD, with perfectionism, or anything of that ilk, please leave a comment, share your story below, and of course, leave a topic for the next episode so I have topics to go into. Otherwise, ChatGPT will probably pick from one of the other two that weren't chosen for this one. Thanks again for showing up. Have a great rest of your day. Ciao.